Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is the Razzball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Beaton, joined by the good-looking Greg Albright, the fantasy master Lothario himself, the mustachioed man of mystery. How's it going, buddy?
Hey man, good. I got I don't know if you can I don't know if you can see, but I have new glasses on. Can you tell?
I Yeah, I can because they're not just straight black. There's a
Yeah.
little inlay
Yeah.
there. I see that.
Yeah. I have right here. I got glasses when I was these are I got different glasses for when I was looking at my glass case is a little car. like I'm 12.
That does feel very 12. That feels. I mean, I'm surprised there's not a logo there.
Wait, hold on, hold on. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna onto my head. That's how I put my glasses on. I go. um, no, I had a mishap with my black ones. I was at Handel's Ice Cream. I don't know if you know Handel's, but
I've never heard of it.
not a paid sponsor.
But if they want to, please
That's like
send me
the
free ice cream.
go-to. That's what everyone says on every podcast ever. Oh, not a paid sponsor. Yeah, no kidding, bro. Yeah, I know they're not a paid sponsor because you're just talking about
Because
them.
I didn't make a read that you heard
Yeah,
before the show
because
started.
I didn't stop everything and just start talking about it. But anyway, I was at Handel's Ice Cream, and I was licking the cone, right? I was licking the ice cream, and I accidentally put my whole face in the ice cream. And I got ice cream all over my black glasses, and it didn't really come. It was like got sticky because I couldn't, because then I had to go to Whole Foods because it was we were out, right, and I had to go to Whole. I sound like Norm Macdonald. We had to go to Whole Foods, right, because they were all sticky. And I go to Whole Foods to get water, and it's like $3 to get water to clean off my glasses.
Mhm.
But then I couldn't really, because all I had was like the eyeglass case, the cleaner that was in my car case. All I had was that, and then it got sticky. So anyway, my glasses are super sticky, so I had to put on my backup.
Was this today, or is this like a week ago? We haven't remedied the situation yet.
This was Saturday, so yeah, we're going on 3 days. I haven't remedied the situation yet. No, because right now, Cougs is in Palm Springs and I'm in LA. We're doing a trial. No, we're not doing a trial. That's a joke. No, she's doing some stuff. She's taking care of family business, and I'm in LA, and we have construction going on in the house. Anyway, long story short is she would have cleaned my glasses properly, but she's in Palm Springs and I'm in LA, and I'm useless.
And
I'm
you're just a
so
child.
I am a child with an eyeglass case that is a car.
We're children with responsibilities, Gray. That we literally talk about a game. Like
I was
your
like,
whole job is a game,
I
Gray.
was like, you know what? And if the Cougs were to say anything to me, I'd be like, hey, when you're marrying me, I was running a fantasy baseball website. What did you expect? What did you expect, dude? Like, this is on you. I'm sorry, but it's on you.
The signs were there.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So there you go. That's why I'm wearing different glasses.
As a single man, if for the like three women who might be listening to this podcast, I'm better than that. Just letting you know, I'm better than that. This very low bar that Gray has set, I'm above it somewhere.
you're 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 above the bar that's labeled "can clean your own glasses." You're above that bar.
I am. That bar in particular, I got
Bar. It's like it's a bar that is basically right. It's right above an anthill somewhere. It's barely off the
it's
ground.
that little crack that you trip over, on the sidewalk.
Exactly. Anyway.
Yeah, speaking of, I don't know how to transition. I was gonna try and transition this somehow, Gray, but like I got
Well,
into it.
I'm in LA, and Shohei Ohtani kind of plays in LA, so
So there's that part, but can we just give him the MVP after the week he had this week? I mean, he had 6 home runs, he had 435, he had a stolen base, just for fun, through 6 innings of two earned run ball versus the top scoring offense in baseball. Give him the MVP. And how do the Angels not make the playoffs with the greatest baseball player that like has ever put up seasons? What is going on?
yeah. Okay, so I knew this was coming because we have an outline.
Because
So anyway,
I'm the first
yeah,
host ever to do outlines.
yeah, because you're our first Razzball podcast host. After 8 years, we finally have an outline. So I'm not completely riffing here. I'm not taking numbers off of the top of the head. I actually have I have stuff that I was able to research. So I looked at this. So this is kind of interesting. I totally agree with you that Ohtani is headed for an MVP season, and he had an incredible week. This is not to take anything away from him, but I just wanted to point out, and this is kind of water under the bridge at this point, but I wanted to point out that Ohtani's last 7 days, it was actually 8 days technically because they played. I guess they played 8 days in the anyway. In the last 7 day player rater, but it's actually 8 days. Take that up with Rudy. I don't know. But anyway, the last 7 days that Ohtani's played, he had $53.50 worth of value on the 7 day player rater. And it's 8 days. You know what I'm saying? It's 8 days, it's 8 games, but it's 7 days. Anyway, so he had 53.50 is what I said. Yeah, okay. Last year, Aaron Judge over the course of the whole season had $62.90 worth of value. So, not saying that Ohtani didn't have a great week, but it just shows you how insane Aaron Judge's year was last year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know it's way past the point of talking about Aaron Judge last year, but it's really insane because if you think about it, because right now on the top of your head is your hair. No, on the top of your mind is what Ohtani just did the previous week. How good he was this previous week, and it was still a little bit less of what Aaron Judge did last year. I mean, it's really kind of crazy. Anyway, that was a long way of saying Judge had a great year last year, which is not new
Yes.
news.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
not
he
news.
did.
Not new news. But yeah, I mean, Ohtani's like, I mean, I'm saying, like I said on the website, the website, like I don't know what the name of it is. I said on Razzball the other day, when he got the win and he also hit a home run. It was like I mean I think Ohtani is like the best player ever. I mean I know it's a bit hyperbole, but he's leading the league in homers, and he's also a top 10 pitcher. That's insane. That's nuts. It
It
really is. It
it's
is.
absolutely
I mean,
absurd.
it's like you run out of things to say. Like, oh, and the Ohtani 53.50 number was just his hitting number. That's not including his pitching number. So he was actually, last week, uh, if you combine his hitting and his pitching, but you can't do that really. Like I know some leagues you have daily leagues where you can like get most of his hitting.
Mhm.
You're still losing some hitting. But, with all that said, he's still, I think, the best player ever. I mean, it'd be hard. I mean, I know it's like recency bias is probably playing into this, but I mean, who else is anything remotely like this? I mean, pound for pound, like, leadoff hitter wise, we've had better leadoff hitters, we've had better power hitters, We've had better fielders. We've had better runners. But just as one play, we've had better pitchers. But just as one player, one guy doing all of this, it's so insane. Like, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And like he could go play almost Gold Glove caliber defense in the outfield if he wanted to, but the Angels won't do that to him. I mean, there's no reason for him to do it, but he could. Like I have no doubt in my mind he would be a great outfielder, and that would just add to it. That's about the only thing that you could even say against him. And to that, I say, well, yeah, but he takes the mound every fifth day, so suck it. Like,
Yeah, suck it. Yeah, man, suck it. That's there you go. There you have our title for this week. Suck it. Yeah, no, I mean, I think honestly, I think with Ohtani, like if you look at his, like just his, like just as like one at bat, just looking at him, like and just like down to the just the going microscopic on him, getting myopic, bringing this back to eyeglasses, getting myopic on like what he's able to do. If you just look at one at bat, the way he's able to hit the ball 450 feet the opposite way, it's like, this is not normal. It's not normal. Like you just watch him and you're like you see Aaron Judge and you're like, well, yeah, I mean, he's what, 6'7", 275 pounds of muscle. Yeah. I mean, I'm expecting him to be able to hit the ball hard, but Ohtani's like, it looks like he's barely trying and he hits the ball the opposite way, 450 feet. And you're like, wow, bro, what even, man? Like, it should not be possible what he's able to do. Like, it really, I don't know. It's just like he's like made in a lab that has been able to like perfect a situation where it's like he's able to hit and pitch in such a way that's like so good. It's so good. Oh my God. I mean, and I honestly, like this week, see, I only have him in one league, bringing this back to fantasy and bringing this back to my teams because, why else are we doing this? But yeah, I mean, I have him in one league. It's a weekly league. So I either am getting him for as a hitter or as a pitcher, which, I think that reduces his value a little bit. But as a hitter this week, I had him hitting because he had, the one matchup pitching wise, which was in Texas, which isn't even a great matchup. But I mean, he still pitched well, like I said earlier. But I mean, thank God I had him hitting. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have made this podcast. If I would have lost, if I would have missed that week, oh man, I would have. Yeah, I might have had to cancel. Oh, thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, he's been amazing. I was actually looking in the Memorial Magazine League that I don't know if you're in that one this year, but you've been in it with me with all the like CBS guys and everything. Yeah, I need home runs, and I was looking at Ohtani, and I'm like, I don't even know what I could put together that would get Ohtani, and would that I wouldn't feel like, kind of a jerk for offering and coming in undervalued because he's worth so much, and especially in a daily league. This one's not daily; it's weekly. But even then, like it's ridiculous. And thank goodness you had him in your lineup, Gray. We wouldn't have heard the end of it ever. So for everybody's sake,
we really wouldn't have.
For everybody's sake, we're happy you did it, Gray.
Yeah. That's true, man. I would have been talking about that for years.
Oh, it would be in every article, like forever. Like you mentioned Ohtani, they would you just copy paste it. You wouldn't even write it anymore. It would copy paste. It would be a paragraph just complaining about the week that you missed. Be like, I missed a quarter of his value for the season in a week. Yes,
It's true. You know what? I can't lie. That is exactly what would happen.
All right, let's move on to another thing that we're excited about, and that is the Luis Matos call up from San Francisco. And by the way, is this some weirdly like the most commonly used name of a baseball player? There's like 5 Luis Matos in baseball history
Yeah.
somehow.
Is there? Yeah, I'm blanking though. On is there really?
They all didn't like only 2 made the majors. This being one of them, but there were 3 through the minors as well. So like randomly
I don't know.
there's just
It'd be
Luis
if it was
Matos out
a
there.
it'd be super random if it was like Rodin or Door and they were all brothers.
That would be super weird, wouldn't it? Like, who would do that? Why would somebody do that inside their own household? But so this year in AAA, in 24 games, Matos has 7 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 21-20 on the runs and RBIs. He's hitting 398, 435, 685. Is a 7% K rate and a 6% walk rate because he's hitting everything. So why would you walk if you just hit it? So far, he has 4 games up. He's hitting 339 or 333, 529, 417. He has a stolen base, 7 runs hitting out of the 6 or 8 spot already somehow. David VR was activated at the same time, but for now it looks like Matos is playing and VR is bench. Where are you at on Matos? Add in every league?
I think so. I wasn't able to add him in every league because some leagues are fab leagues, and well,
Yep.
I didn't bid enough in some leagues. I'll actually let me look at what he went for in my leagues. This is interesting for people hearing me type. It's really
in my league he went for $46 out of, and this is $1,000 budget, but everybody has spent a lot of money and all of us are running low. So
yeah, in one league of mine, he went for like $400, but that was a NL only. And crazy enough, that was out of $100. No, that was out of 1,000, obviously. But yeah. I mean, he went for 400, so that's a lot.
yeah, that's a good chunk.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of depends on what you need. Anyway, while you were talking, I was able to bring up what he went for in my leagues. So he went for $48 in one of my leagues. That's actually a pretty good price. Runner up was 27. This is out of 1,000, obviously. And in my other league, he went for, let's see, more 117. Runner up was 35 though, so that person could have he could have bid a little bit less. But you know what? Yeah, you have no idea. If you need a guy, you need a guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I bid on him, but I probably bid like roughly around $40 in both of those leagues. I don't have that much money to be bidding, so
Same.
again, it's like it depends on a team situation. I think he's totally worth rostering though in all leagues. Like he looks like he has good power and speed, and actually a good hit tool. Like in AAA, that he had, it was only 24 games, but that he had an under 7% strikeout rate. I mean, we've been doing this a while. I don't remember hearing about an under 7% strikeout rate from a guy in AAA who was only 21 years old.
21,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, like that feels like I don't know off the top of my head, but that's got to be just about as elite as you're going to find for a strikeout rate on a 21-year-old. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds elite. Yeah, and also just the fact that he had, like, in Double-A but he had a higher walk rate than strikeout rate. Like, wow. Like, he's really, like, that's super talented. Like, it wouldn't be totally shocking for him to have like a 380 or above on base percentage as a rookie, which is like, that's nuts. I could see him potentially, because he's like, unlike like Arise or some of other guys who are, or like or some other hitters who are strictly average guys. Matos could actually hit for average, and he has power and speed. Not elite power. He's like maybe a 7 to 12 homer guy. At least this year, maybe even less, maybe 5 to 7 homers this year in the majors. Maybe next year with a full season, maybe we're looking at like 12 homers. And he has better speed than that. Like probably 15 to 20 steal speed. But with the average, it's better than like, say, a guy who comes to mind is like a Stephen Kwan is like, a low power, some speed, good average guy. But I think Matos is probably going to be above him next year. So does that make him above him this year? It's like, it depends on how the Giants play it, because like I saw, just randomly I saw in the lineup, because I was looking for Fab. I was looking to see where guys were batting in the lineup. So I saw Matos, I think, was hitting in the bottom of the lineup yesterday. Yesterday being Sunday. When his first game up, though, he hit third. He's more or less like he should be hitting leadoff, I think. At worst, he's hitting second. It depends on what they want to do with Estrada. Estrada's been hitting third, though. So, yeah, I mean, I think, anyway, Matos next year, probably above where you took Kwan this year. For this year, I think he's rosterable in every league. I mean, with rookies, you never know, but he could easily put together from this point forward a better season than Kwan, and that's, and I keep saying Kwan because that's sort of like, that's how I see him basically, like, like pretty iffy on power, but nice speed and good average.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Kwan's the rare one where like he came up and stole more bases than he had ever stolen in the minors. And why that is, I'm not sure, but he was also kind of fast tracked through the organization as well. Matos is very much the same. And you mentioned the strikeout rate in AAA over 26 games, so just a couple more than Matos. He had a 6.7% K rate. That's Stephen Kwan. So there's another connection that 7% K rate or lower. He had 5 home runs and 2 stolen bases to Matos's 7 and 6. So there is a little bit something to be said about that. Although Matos started, or actually they both started at Double A. So yeah, I mean that's about as even as you're going to get as far as production, other than Matos being kind of in the PCL, and that always being a nice place to go for hitters.
Right. Yeah. So that's why even maybe I'm overestimating Matos's power a little bit because of where he was playing in AAA. He did have some nice power there, but yeah, because I know when he got called up, I believe he had hit 6 homers in 6 straight games.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, so and that's PCL though. So I mean, he might not hit 6 homers for the rest of the year in the majors. San Francisco is not a great park for power necessarily. So yeah, I mean, but it's still, like I said, totally rosterable in every league.
Yeah, before anybody starts yelling at their listening device, it was 6 homers in 6 games. He had 2 homers in 1 game, so it wasn't a streak, but that's how it happened. He had 6 in 6 games prior to getting called up. He's hitting the ball well, and he doesn't strike out. I mean, that's a good combination for a pickup.
Yeah.
Emmet Sheehan got called up for the Dodgers in 10 starts, 12 appearances this year, over 53 innings. He has a 1.86 ERA, a 0.88 WHIP, 42% K rate, and an 11% walk rate in the minors. He has a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Changeup is nice. He has a slider that's okay. First start, he went 6 innings, no earned, 3 Ks, 2 walks, and they've already said he's going to get at least one more start with Urias and Syndergaard both on the IL. Where are you at on Sheehan?
Emmet Sheehan, another guy who I was pursuing heavily, and I didn't end up getting him anywhere. Actually, I did get him in our RCL league, but I've dropped him since. That's a 12-team mixed league. And I have the Braves ass already, so AJ Smith-Shawver. So the fact that, I just didn't want to keep Shaver and Sheehan. Anyway, that's my own situation. I did pursue him in every league though. Sheehan, that is. I pursued Shaver too, but that's beside the point. Emmet Shaver. Emmet Sheehan, I think looked better on paper than he ended up looking in the game, to be honest. I thought he looked good. I watched this game. I watched a good I probably watched like 75% of it. I thought he looked very poised for a first start, but he didn't really know where the ball was going. Like his command is kind of wonky. I don't know. Like it depends on like if he's able to get in front of like hitters. If he's able to get up in counts, that may not play as hard as it was occasionally in the minors. Like in the minors, he had 3.9 walk per nine. If he has a above that in the majors, which you would think a guy who has like an almost 4 walk per nine in the minors in Double A, you would think that would translate to the majors and become like a 4.5 or worse walk per nine. And if that happens, he's going to be unusable. So I honestly was watching, when I watched him, I was like, I thought he looked good. Like he was able to strike out some hitters. So, don't take this the wrong way. Like he looked like he had decent stuff, but it was the Giants and he didn't strike out a ton of hitters either. And he really looked wild. Like the ball, like it would come out of his hand on counts like, what really shows me when a guy is like in a 2-0 or a 1-0 count and he throws the ball so wild that the hitter would never swing at it. It's like you don't want to fall behind 2 or 3-0. Like it's it's a kind of a telltale sign when a guy is looking in a count where he should be throwing a strike and the ball is just over the catcher's head even at times. Like it was just he didn't look like he could really command his pitches. And that's how his minor league numbers also back that up. Like, so it wasn't nerves necessarily. I think it is who he is right now, and that can backfire real fast. So while I did go out and pursue him, I didn't bid very high. So I didn't get him in any leagues. So I didn't I went like in the 30 to 40 range out of 1,000 on Fab, and I didn't get him. Other people bid much more than me. He looked good. He looked like he could be great, but he also looked like he can be a disaster at times. So I would just be careful. Like I said, I've already dropped him in a 12-team mixed league because I just don't need the headache of having another rookie pitcher. I have, like honestly, between him and Shaver, since I mentioned it, I would go Shaver. But I think Sheehan could be potentially as good. It just depends on whether or not he can locate.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with everything you had to say, and he only has one more start guaranteed. Whereas it seems like Shaver's going to be in the rotation unless he kind of collapses, and then they'll just cycle whoever they feel like's the next guy in. But it feels like his spot is at least more secure than Sheehan's right now, because Urias is definitely coming back at some point, and he's going to take a rotation spot. Syndergaard, I don't know if he necessarily deserves a rotation spot or if he'll get one, but he's coming back as well.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, again, like it depends on the leagues or whatever. But in my Fab leagues where he went for more than Matos, which in at least the 15-team mixed leagues, he went for 69 in one league, and he went for 121 in another league. So I like him. Actually, I did get him in one of those leagues. That's how many leagues I have. I forgot I got him. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I like him. I got it. Obviously, I bid enough to get him in one league, so I do like him. But I worry that he could explode. Also, in the league where I got him, my pitching is such a mess that, it was like, sometimes you got to take upside gambles in certain leagues. So yeah, but I do like him. I just think the command was really not very pretty, as what I saw at least of the command. Now, it was only one start. Maybe there was nerves. It didn't seem like nerves. It really didn't. Like, it seemed like he just wasn't whatchamacallit, locating.
Yeah.
And in my and for what it's worth, in my NO only league, he went for $300. So, so he went for a little bit less than Matos in that league. And that's obviously out of 1,000. So anyway, long story short is I would be worried. In shallower leagues, I would be a little bit more hesitant. In the deeper the league, it's like sometimes you got to take gambles.
You just grab him. Yeah. You just grab him and see what happens. Would you start him? It looks like he's lined up for Houston at home. Would you start him there?
Yeah, it's not safe, but I would in like 15 team mix leagues, I would start him there. In 12 team mix, yeah, I probably would in a 12 team mix, not in a 10 team mix. That's too shallow for him.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. And if you're in it depends on, again, what you're looking for. If you're kind of set in pitching, I wouldn't really take the risk and face that blow up.
No,
but if you're chasing,
and that was actually,
numbers,
in my in the RCL league where I dropped him. Like I don't know if I have the best pitching, but I have probably close to the best pitching, and I just don't need it. Like I have so many good arms, at least right now. Knock on wood, but I don't need it, so I didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, you are currently third in an RCL in pitching, so you're sitting pretty solid in there. Yeah. I'm not.
Well, you might want to try Sheehan then.
Okay. He may be getting added to the roster. It's been a disappointing season on the pitching side over there, but that's okay. We're moving on, and actually, it's getting better. Like, my pitching is actually rounding into form. Anyways. Nobody cares about my team. Somebody might care about your team. They definitely don't care about mine. Bo Naylor was called up by the Guardians. People care about that. 60 games in AAA, 13 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 45, 48. He's hitting 253, 393, 498 with a 19.3% K rate and an 18% walk rate. And to make it official that he is, on the roster, they have DFA'd Mike Zunino.
Yeah, about time. That was such an obvious service time manipulations. I mean, it was so obvious.
It's couldn't be more obvious.
Yeah, I mean, Zunino, really? Okay.
Zunino and Cam Gallagher.
And as soon as we passed the Super 2, it's like, oh yeah, Zunino's DFA'd. Oh, imagine that. Shocking. Anyway, so yeah, Bo Naylor, I think we were also going to talk about Henry Davis. You want to just talk about Henry Davis and Bo Naylor?
Yeah, let's talk about the catchers. We hate catchers anyway, so we don't need to spend a lot of time.
So because I feel like they're kind of going to be, in most leagues, it's going to be people are going to be looking at both of them and wondering which one they prefer. And I think, like I was saying, I think on the site, I think Henry Davis is probably just. All right, so here's my thoughts. They're both projected for pretty similar things. Like, they both have power. They don't really have much speed. They have like a decent hit tool, but they may not hit for more than 240 or something this year because, catchers just don't hit for very good averages, but their hit tools are okay. They're not like going to hit for a good average, like say like an Adelaide Rustman or something. Like, their main attraction is the power. And Henry Davis's power looks really amazing. And Bo Naylor's power looks great. Like, they both look like they have really solid power. So my thought is Henry Davis has been playing the field a lot in the minors. He's looked proficient enough in the outfield where I think the Pirates could actually play Henry Davis, a decent amount, where not even behind the plate, they might even they could DH him, they could play him in the outfield. He might even get some at bats at first or something. Like, Henry Davis could play other positions, which is just going to help him with counting stats, if nothing else. So I think I'm going Henry Davis over Bo Naylor for that reason and that reason alone, really, because I think they're probably going to be both very similar. They're both 23 years old. They're going to be, super similar in projections. It's just Henry Davis could potentially play just a bit more. So I'm going Henry Davis, but that honestly is just like, you're flipping a coin basically with both of them. Like they both could be terrible, they both could be great. One could be good and one could be bad. Like you don't know. As a rookie, like you just don't know how it's going to play out. But for right now, right this second, I'm saying Henry Davis.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Henry Davis is primarily going to play in the outfield. I don't think he's going to really have regular catching duties. So I'm with you that I'm going Henry Davis, and on top of the reasons you said, there's more plate appearances. It's less wear and tear, but he doesn't have to learn the pitching staff, at least not to the amount that Bo Naylor is going to need to learn the pitching staff. And so that's just a lot less time that he has to spend away from the hitting side, because that's why catchers are so random, is they don't get the same time hitting that every other hitter on the team does, because they're out working with the pitchers. They have to be in different meetings. Like it's different for catchers. So I'm completely with you that I'm going Henry Davis, and it's
Also,
about
also
that.
think about just like logically think about them being in the dugout and a pitcher is like, a pitcher wants to talk to him about how they're going to approach the next inning. They're not looking at the pitcher and preparing for their at bat. They're thinking about how to attack the other team's hitters.
Right.
you
Right.
know so it's just like, yeah, it's like little things like that that I think could potentially, stop Bo Naylor from being as good as Henry Davis for at least this year. But it could work out either way. In one league I actually did grab Bo Naylor over. I finally cut bait on Alejandro Kirk because that was a nightmare.
Yeah, that's not good.
So
That did not go as
oh
as
my
as
god,
planned.
he's been so bad. Like I really just like, I mean, never again, man. I don't even think he must not have been like that high of a draft pick, because I wouldn't have taken him if he were, because I just don't believe in drafting catchers high. But I don't think he was going for that cheap either. So I don't know how I ended up with him. I really don't. I don't know. Somehow I got him on my team. I must have looked at like the war room's value. Excuse me. I must have looked at the war room's values, and he must have went for less than what it was saying he was worth. So I bid on him and I got him. But man, he was been awful.
Yeah, he's been awful.
Yeah. Oh God. So
Free
bad.
for everybody. I'm not spending more than $5 on the catcher in NL or AL only, so you can just pencil that in for me. I'm not doing it, and one of them will be $1. There will be one
Yeah.
catcher that's $1, guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. And that's usually my angle. But I guess he must have been like,
Must
I
have
don't
just been
know. It
low.
must have been, yeah, it must have been super low, where it was like, like if someone's listed on the war room for like, say, I don't know, 15, $16, and it's at like 9, I would still be in the bidding at that point. But obviously that backfired with Alejandro Kirk. I don't know. But I'm not, Henry Davis though, it would be my go-to, but he wasn't available yet because he hadn't yet debuted. So
Mhm.
yeah, Henry Davis would be my preferred one.
Yeah, he'll be up next week, I think, in all the NFBC leagues that he wasn't drafted in. So that'll be a bid for next week. What are you putting in if you're looking for a catcher?
Oh yeah, see, Bo Naylor, I think it was like $2 out of 100. And I wouldn't bid more than like 20 out of 1,000. Like, in the 12 to $17 range usually for catchers, unless you're really desperate. I mean, if you've lost like a catcher or something, like if someone's hurt and you've been like scrambling, like I think in one league, I have Connor Wong. I don't even know how I got. I lost Logan O'Hop. So I've been kind of looking for a catcher in that league. So maybe I'll bid, $15 to $20. But yeah, I don't really. I mean, like you said, you don't bid on them when in the draft. I don't really look that hard at like fab for them either. It just happened to be that Alejandro Kirk was so awful, and it's a 12-team mixed league, and I really need a better catcher than Alejandro Kirk. So I was like, I bid $2 on Bo Naylor. It's like, what the hell? Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd probably spend up to 30, maybe even 40 if I just have fab sitting around. I don't in any of my leagues, but if I just had it sit around, I wouldn't mind spending it on Davis. Again, just because I think he plays pretty regularly if he hits. And so there's a chance that he just kind of plate appearances his way to a good season, and
Oh yeah,
we've
and
seen that
also
happen.
right, and also I think I mentioned this on the site, but also it's worth saying that like with Henry Davis and Bo Naylor, like well I already mentioned that Bo Naylor was a service time thing. Henry Davis is obviously a service time thing too. So I mean the fact that they called them up, the Guardians and the Pirates aren't gonna like not play them. Like they're gonna play. So like as much as a catcher plays, like like we're saying with Henry Davis, he could play more because he can play the field. But like Bo Naylor becomes, the automatic, number one catcher there, and the Pirates will play Henry Davis. So like at bats won't be an issue. Like they're gonna play.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. All right. Hey, another call up here. Michael Busch was actually recalled by the Dodgers. Come back up. Muncy is going to the IL with a hamstring. I don't know if he's necessarily going to play regularly, but he is coming back up. It's possible Chris Taylor just kind of has an everyday position for a little while. But in 45 games in AAA, he has 7 home runs, a stolen base, 39, 38, and he's hitting 313, 428, and 540. Where's Michael Busch on the ad beater?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not adding him anywhere. I didn't even add him in NL only. I don't know. I mean, he's fine. Like you said, I don't think he's gonna play, so it's not really worth it to add him in any leagues if he's not playing. Except for NL only, where I mean, more than likely he's already rostered in NL only. I would probably look at him as, the best case scenario, I think, for him is the Dodgers make some sort of move and trade him to a place where he can actually play. So maybe in July, his like outlook will look better. But right now, I just don't think he's gonna play. And that's even with the Muncy injury, he's not going to play. Like whatever he did to like the Dodgers, they've really buried Michael Busch. Like he looked like a pretty interesting prospect at one point, and now he's like 25 and not even a young 20. I mean, he's going to turn 26 in a few months. Well, in November, but still, I mean, he's more than halfway through 25. Do people celebrate their half birthday? I do. Anyway, Michael Busch is like getting buried by the Dodgers. I don't know. I don't get why, but hopefully he gets traded somewhere where he can play. As of right now, I don't think he's worth anything in any league really, except for maybe NL only, where you're just like totally strapped for something.
Yeah, if you need something, then yeah, and then only you can always use something. I guess maybe the most obvious place he could get playing time would be if he platoons on, which would be the strong side since he hits from the left side, and like Miguel Vargas isn't hitting well. Chris Taylor is just like the streakiest player in the world.
Also
Uh,
injury prone.
yeah, Miguel Rojas doesn't really need to ever swing a bat.
Miguel
So
Rojas made a deal with the devil to get like 500 at bats every year and not do anything else.
not actually hit the
Yeah,
ball. Yeah,
it's
it's kind of
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Michael Busch is like the Joe Adele of the opposite side of
He
the city.
totally is. Yeah, exactly. Even if Anaheim was actually in Los Angeles, that would make sense.
Maybe they just need to trade him. Maybe they'll just trade him across the city, and they can be benched by the opposite side of the city.
Yeah, no, completely. Yeah, I don't see the Dodgers like could probably use an arm. Like they don't really. Well, not that we're not playing Dodger GM right now. So anyway, long story short is Michael Busch doesn't have any playing time. All right, move on.
All right. So we should have talked about this guy when we were talking about Bo Naylor and Henry Davis. We won't spend too much time on him, but he was called up a couple weeks ago. We didn't really talk about him because we don't really talk about catchers generally speaking. But Patrick Bailey, since this is a catcher centric podcast, he's hitting 304, 337, 532 with 3 home runs in 22 games for the Pirates. Where is Patrick Bailey on the Davis Naylor Patrick Bailey? Is he at the very bottom?
Yeah, he's third. Also, I think we didn't talk about him because I think we both figured that he was just going to be a temporary replacement for Joey Bart. And then I don't know whatever happened with Joey Bart.
He's down in the minors right now.
Did he get demoted? Jeez.
Yeah.
Man, he is really flamed out. Yeah, I mean, Patrick Bailey to me looks like right now he's hitting over 300, but that's with an insane BABIP. He doesn't walk at all. He strikes out a decent amount. He doesn't have any speed. He's got some power, but not really even like great power. Yeah. I feel like Patrick Bailey is best case scenario a 12 homer, 0 steal, 230 hitter, which, it's pretty bad. It's not great. So I don't know. I don't know how his glove is, to be honest. But that has nothing to do with fantasy anyway. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'm really I think Patrick Bailey isn't even he's not even necessarily on my radar for even outside of the Henry Davis, Bo Naylor, whatchamacallit, even outside of their call-ups, if you were to take Patrick Bailey and put him against I don't know, Keibert Ruiz or something, and Patrick Bailey is still not on the radar. If you were to go against guys who are actually playing but not playing that well, I still probably wouldn't pick Patrick Bailey. But if you were to say Patrick Bailey in an NL only league or a 15-team mixed league with 2 catchers, and you need a catcher, and you're looking at Patrick Bailey, I mentioned him earlier, Connor Wong. It's Patrick Bailey or Connor Wong. That's kind of what that would be a toss up for me versus Henry Davis and Bo Naylor, I think are actually kind of interesting. Where Patrick Bailey, I don't think is that interesting.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, except that I'm actually starting Patrick Bailey and have been for the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's gone well actually these last 2 weeks, so I'm not disappointed yet. But I am going to be in on the bidding for Henry Davis next week, and I might swap him out for Nick Fortes if this has any signs of slowing down immediately, and that's not a great decision either. Nick Fortes isn't exactly somebody I'm loving, but he's been hitting a little bit better. And
I think actually I would probably lean Nick Fortes, to be honest.
Yeah, I think his playing time.
But they're close. I mean, Bailey and Fortes is the kind of toss-up that I would be looking at.
Yeah, it's kind of a ride it while they're hot in right matchups, and then it's probably going to go bad real fast. But it's catcher, so a lot of them are going to go bad fast. So you're kind of just in with everybody else.
Yeah.
Dairon Blanco, I have no idea if I said that right, so apologies to him if I did not. And Samad Taylor are called up for Kansas City. We don't normally talk about 30-year-old prospects as Blanco is, but here we are, Gray. But he leads the minor leagues in stolen bases. In 49 games, he has 47 stolen bases. He's hitting 347, 444, and 451. Let's talk about Blanco first, and then we can talk about Taylor afterwards.
Yeah, I grabbed Blanco in one league because of, that's so 47 steals in 49 games. Vroom, vroom, baby. Vroom, vroom.
Sagnoff,
baby. Let's go. I'm in it. Let's do it. That's crazy. And on top of that, the Royals seem like they're actually playing them. At least they were last week. Now that Taylor's called up, I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to say about him, to be honest. I think he's just a straight Sagnoff guy. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit. Like if he can hit for like a 250 or better, that's kind of interesting. That helps at least. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that though. Maybe close, maybe 235.
Yeah, I think he's probably safer in OBP leagues.
Yeah, I mean he's got right, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's actually, I mean that's a good point. Like he does get on base. It's not like, the old saying of like you can't steal first. Like he actually does walk. His his walk rate in the minors 10.6%. That's pretty good. It's actually really good. So, yeah, I mean if he's able to if he can figure out some sort of like niche role with the Royals, he makes more sense as a leadoff man than Nick Prado. I mean, I like Nick Prado, don't get me wrong, but he's got no business like leading off. Like Blanco would make more sense there. And even maybe, Taylor. Go ahead. You want to intro Taylor?
Yeah, I mean the Royals just love doing a flipped lineup where like the guys who should lead off are at the bottom and the guys who should like middle of the lineup are sitting 1-2. It's pretty awesome. But Sabad Taylor is 24. He's not a 30-year-old prospect. This year in AAA he had 6 home runs, 34 stolen bases, 50 runs, 37 RBIs. He's hitting 304, 409, 463. He has a sub 20% K rate and a just over 14% walk rate. And he's walked like the last 3 years. Blanco's was kind of ticked up this year a little bit. Like Taylor's walked pretty much since he's got out of like low A ball. He's taken walks. And again, he's a younger prospect. He might have been a Super 2 guy. Like that might have been the triggering for the Royals to call him up. That might be why we saw Blanco a little bit before him. But regardless, we have Taylor. Where are you adding him more over Blanco?
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor to me makes more sense for the Royals to go into like a future. If they're looking to the future, Taylor makes more sense for them to play him because like why would you play Blanco to me feels like a pinch runner. Like a little bit. I mean the 47 steals in 49 games is really it's really kind of fun. But I mean Taylor's speed isn't necessarily that much worse and he's actually young. So if you're looking to the future, wouldn't you go for Taylor over Blanco? Like that just seems like it makes more sense to me. So I would think I'd probably lean Taylor. I mean, like I said already, like I think I got Blanco in a league. I did. No one bid on him. I got Blanco for $10 out of 1,000. So that's like a $1 bid in a 15-team mixed league. In 12-team mixed leagues, I'm not even looking at Blanco. Taylor, I would look at if he started doing something in a 12-team mixed league. That is, in a 15-team mixed league, I could see Taylor being, actually very interesting, especially if he's playing. I don't know how the Royals are going to, I don't know how the playing time is going to shake out necessarily because, like, they have, Massey. At some point, Massey will return. I don't think his injury is that bad from what I've heard. Like he's probably like a minimal stay on the IL. So he returns. Then Nicky Lopez gets the boot. So that still could potentially leave Taylor, but what does Blanco do? Does Blanco not play at all? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it depends on playing time, but potentially Taylor could get interesting for a 12-team mixed league, where Blanco, I don't think that's ever happening with. Like, I think Blanco is just going to be like, you play him for a week, maybe you get 3 to 4 steals, and then, you can drop them next week or something. Where Taylor could potentially have, like, ramifications through all mixed leagues.
Yeah, Blanco is like the fill-in guy on a short schedule day in daily leagues where you're just like, maybe I get a cheap stolen base. Just he gets in. Maybe I don't even have to get a plate appearance. I don't have to get that. And Taylor, you're right. Like he could just take over left field. It could be his. I guess Blanco could maybe platoon with Drew Waters. Neither of them are really great hitters. I assume Blanco can at least cover some distance with his speed. He may not quite have Drew Waters, coverage. That's why Drew Waters plays. He's just a great fielding center fielder. But maybe Blanco gets some time in a little split there, but it's going to be the wrong side probably. So still not great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I was just looking too at like the bids on Samad Taylor. Samad Taylor did go for more than Blanco in my fab leagues. Samad Taylor went for 47 and Blanco went for 33 to one person. And then, like I mentioned, he went for 10 to me in this other league where Samad Taylor, I think, went for 50 in that other league. So, yeah, Samad Taylor, obviously more interesting and could have staying time and playing time and could be actually very good, where Blanco is just, maybe you get a couple steals.
Yeah, and for whatever it's worth, it's 2 games, but Samad hasn't struck out yet, and he already has I think a couple of walks. So at least for what it's worth, like he has his 2 walks, no strikeouts. That's a good start.
Yeah.
All right, some non-prospect stuff. Since you said you liked Spencer Strider, he's gone in the tank. I completely blame you. Last 2 starts, he has 13 earned runs, 14 Ks over over 9 innings with 4 walks in that period at Detroit and versus the Mets. Not exactly the powerhouses there. And I mean, not that we've been complaining about him because he's been great up until these last 2, but he hasn't had an unearned run outing since April 24th. Doesn't really matter what the K is that he gives you, but is Spencer Strider broken? Is he broken, Gray?
No.
With the stick?
No, I don't think he's broken. I think he's just I think he was just probably mislocating, and it shows like he has his homer per 9 is up and his walks are up a little bit. So he's probably just locating badly with a pitch. I don't know which pitch. I don't have all his numbers in front of me, but I'm sure what it's going to look like is he's just not locating with a pitch or two. And if you're not locating out of the zone, you can also not locate in the zone. And if you're, you leave it over the heart of the plate, even if you are Spencer Strider, some guys are going to hit it. So, yeah, I think he's fine, though. It doesn't look like anything. Like I did look at his velocity is down a little bit, but he's still throwing 97. I don't see any real big concerns. His strikeouts are actually up to 14.5 K per 9 versus 13.8 last year. I mean, it looks good. It's just, he probably just gave up a couple homers in a bad situation. So, yeah, I would be buying if anything. I'm not really concerned.
Yeah, the slight drop in velocity has me wondering if they might give him a phantom IL stint. The Braves have bigger plans than just getting to the playoffs. Maybe they just let him rest up his arm. Again, he's still a young guy. He throws the ball so damn hard. I think maybe he just needs a little bit of time. He's at 78 innings. He threw 131 last year, so he's about a little over halfway of probably where they'd like him to get to this year. They could give him a stretch or 2 or give him a 6-man rotation for a couple times through.
Yeah, or maybe, skip him going into the All-Star break and that gives him 10 days to 2 weeks off or something.
Yeah. They could definitely find some time for him to.
I will say that now when you were talking, I was looking at his velocities and it looks like his fastball velocity was higher to start the year and it has come down, almost almost 2, about 1.5 miles per hour. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit concerning. I mean, he is maybe potentially he's coming off of like a big season last year where he, he probably he's throwing a lot of innings that he wasn't necessarily throwing, in previous seasons. Last year was a big year, a lot of innings last year. This year is going, if he stays in the rotational year, it's going to be a ton of innings. And then you think about like the playoffs. So yeah, a Phantom IL stint probably wouldn't be the worst thing for him. Maybe an IL stint in July. So then he has the All-Star break and an IL stint, and he gets 2.5 weeks off. Potentially, I don't know. I mean, it's just all conjecture, but it looks like he could be a little bit tired.
Yeah. Would you potentially be trading him away or trading for him?
I would be buying him for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the price, obviously. Like whenever anything is discussed in a trade, it's always about what the actual, the prices that you're paying. But in a vacuum, I would take Strider as a buy versus a sell. But if someone were to say to me like, "I'll give you Acuna for Strider," I would take Acuna. I mean, like it depends on what the trade is, obviously. But and more than likely scenario, it's going to be like rejuvenated Michael Harris II or Strider. I'm still taking Strider. Like I never thought Michael Harris II was going to be terrible to the point where he was, but I also am still not convinced he's
Yeah.
like a huge 30-30 guy or something. Like I still think there's a ceiling for Harris where Strider, I mean, I don't have the strikeout numbers in front of me, but I'm guessing he has the highest K per nine probably in the league, right? I mean, his K per nine's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
so
It's got to be him.
yeah, I mean, it's got to be like he's got a 14.5 K per nine. Like that's nuts. Like if you have a 14.9 a 14.5 K per nine, like you can get away with like a 5 walk rate and still be good. Like you don't like, but yeah, he has the best K per nine by 2 strikeouts per nine, like above Hunter Green. Hunter Green's number 2 at 12.3. Like that's crazy. Like so Strider still, I mean, to me, Strider is like pound for pound, like the best pitcher in baseball, if not best. He's top 3. Like just stuff wise. And after stuff, everything else is like there's luck involved in ERA and WHIP. Like it just you throw out everything else and you just look at K per nine. And Spencer Strider is far and away better than everyone else by a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been great up until this little stretch. The seasonal numbers took a little bit of hit across that one, but again, he's been great. I think there is going to be kind of either an IL or a 6-man or like you said around the All-Star break. Give him some time off just to let him get his arm back to where it needs to be. And as you mentioned, Michael Harris, he's hitting 383 with 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases in June. He's still hitting at the bottom of the lineup though. I'm still saying buy. You probably can't buy him quite as low as you could have 2 weeks ago, but I still think his owner might potentially let him go, especially if that person maybe bought low at the right time and now can
Or if
flip them.
that person happens to be me.
Well, you would have him. You wouldn't have had him. You
But I
wouldn't have
wouldn't,
traded
right.
for
I
him.
wouldn't I wouldn't have
It's
them, so I wouldn't be able to trade them away.
yes, that's
I
exactly
would
right.
I would actually galaxy braining, I would trade for him just to trade him away. just just to teach him a lesson. I on the 7-day player rater, he's actually number 2 behind Ohtani. And Eddie Rosario is number 3. Eddie Rosario is having a great month of June. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, with Michael Harris the second, I just have I have issues with like his approach, as I've mentioned many times before. The more the fantasy aspect is like the hitting ninth. There's some problems there, as I just said, with like he was number 2 on the 7-day player rater. So hitting ninth doesn't kill all value. Like there's still potential, for some value there. But like I still think he's like, he's a 2020 260 hitter, which is fun, which is good. I mean, that's not terrible, but there's room for slumps, as we saw in the first like 2 months of the season. Like, his approach it's slump prone, his approach, unfortunately, because he does hit like a lot of grounders. He hits the ball into the ground. He could potentially get hit into like a bad BABIP. Like, and if he hits into a bad BABIP, as we saw, whoa, hey, who's speeding on what's going on? I'm you know how old I am? I'm running down the street yelling at cars old.
Getting license plates of speeders.
Hey man, slow down. There's kids here. Not my kids necessarily, but there's kids. Anyway, Michael Harris is like, he could potentially slump, as we saw. So that's my biggest concern with Michael Harris. Like he is like luck neutral. He is a 2020 260-ish hitter. So that's got value. Like there's something to that. It's just like you got to be ready for like when, the April and May of him comes along and he is like, hitting 175 for a month and you're like, oh, wow, should I drop him? So.
Yeah, I just want to point out that he was also, coming back from injury over that period. So, yeah. So there's a reason that might happen.
But he does have I mean, come on, you got to admit his launch angle isn't exactly set up for home run.
It's still better than your boy Bo Bichette's.
Bo
Bichette, whose launch angle is lower than Christian Yelich right now.
No, we cannot go down the Bo Bichette. No,
we can. We can always go down the Bo Bichette line. We can always do it, Greg.
We cannot. No, we cannot. No, we can't. We cannot. Sorry.
All right. Well, then we're not going down the Bo Bichette line, and we already talked about Eddie Rosario's crazy performance and how you ignored my boy Donkey Teeth and told him that Eddie Rosario's trash. You don't need him on your roster. You need to pick up. Who was it? What useless player did you pick up instead?
Oh man, I want to say, I want to say it was someone as useless as like JJ Bleday. but I mean, honestly, that's a lie, because I've had I see actually I'm looking at my team right now. I see Lance Lynn just got put on the bereavement list. He's going to the funeral for my fantasy teams because of what he did to them.
And then you sat him last week, right?
And I sat him. Yeah, I sat him for his 16 strikeout game. That was fun. Like, honestly, if you're gonna be terrible, be terrible. But if you're gonna be good, be good. Just don't be good and then terrible and then good and then terrible and then good, because that's maddening, bro. Like that's where I have a problem. When you're not gonna do the same thing. If you're just gonna be awful, then I'm like, you know what? He's just not good. That's fine. But if he's not good and then he comes back and he throws 16 Ks, I'm like, come on, man. Come on. See, that's just being mean.
Throw me a freaking bone here. Come on, Lance Lynn. Just the worst. Oh man. We look back at like his season and he's gonna have like the same line as ever. I'm gonna go back through and remind everybody, like, you sat him for 16 Ks, you sat him for 10 Ks, you definitely sat him for like the other 7K, like no earned run spots. Like, you didn't start him for any of these. Don't be giving me his overall numbers.
No, like honestly, Lance Lynn's actually not a bad guy to discuss briefly because like his strikeouts are not bad. Like he's got right now he has a 10.9 K per nine, and his walk rate is just out of control, terrible. And well, for him at least, it's
It's like
3.5.
old Lance Lynn with the Cardinals bat.
Yeah, it's like Lance Lynn when he would have like a 4.77 ERA, like just not a good walk rate. And I mean that because he's shown he can have a better command. Like it's sort of like why I was back in on Charlie Morton this year. Like a guy like a guy who has good command, who at least has shown he has good command, can get better. Like Lance Lynn shouldn't be this bad. Like he really shouldn't. I'm not just saying that because he just had a 16K strikeout game. I would love to be able to dismiss Lance Lynn forever from my life, but he really isn't. Like if you look at like his peripherals, he's not really this bad, but he was very bad for many months. And I think even in a good scenario, like best case scenario, he's still, especially at this point, because his ERA is so awful that he would need to be so good for the rest of the year for it to fix itself. But I still think he's probably like an over 4 ERA guy. So, like in most leagues, that's not great. Like in a 12-team mixed league, you can stream that probably and do better. But in a 15-team mixed league or deeper, I mean, like I still have Lance Lynn on my teams and, a bunch of leagues. It's like you can't. I had him on the bench for a 16K strikeout game, and now I'm moving him into my lineups, and I'm sure his next game's gonna be awful. I just know it will be. It's just the way it goes. So, it is what it is at this point. But yeah, his next game is supposedly against the Red Sox in Chicago. So,
Yeah, we'll see how that goes, and then we'll complain next week.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on to the bullpens, Gray. Alex Lang has been struggling. They're kind of moving to this committee. Are you interested in anybody in this committee, or is this a deep league if you're really chasing situation?
I think Foley has looked pretty good. Like I don't necessarily know, if they go to a committee, then it's just bad. Like a committee would just not be good. But if they go to Foley, then that then that's worth potentially picking up and going with that. Like I think like his numbers, like he's got really good command, and good command can go a long way. Lang has looked pretty bad. So and Foley got the last save, on Sunday. I don't know. It depends on when people listen to this, but Foley may already have blown the next opportunity. But anyway, I mean Foley, as of right this second, I would grab Foley. I don't necessarily think like he's going to be great. Like he doesn't have like huge strikeouts. He's a good command guy. He's got like he's basically like a two to three pitcher. Like he's got a hard fastball at 97, but it's really like slider change. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he looks like if he can potentially put together, because he got the last save as of the recording of this, if he can get the next like save or two, I could see him being the closer for the rest of the season. Then again, by this time next week, he may not be the closer at all. So I don't know, but he's worth looking at. I kind of like Foley. I'm interested.
Okay, so grab him if you're chasing some saves and you're looking to kind of speculate on who might be taking over situations. That's always what we're looking for. Ryan Helsley has the injury. He's going to the IL. It's been Jordan Hicks, not Gio Gallegos, like we had kind of speculated, since he seemed like he was getting the extra, the day off saves and used in the high leverage areas. But Jordan Hicks has come in and gotten 2 saves, Gray.
Yeah, yeah, and I grabbed Hicks in all the leagues where I could. I think Hicks is probably a time bomb waiting to happen, but for right now, I mean, he does, he has put together back-to-back saves, so, nothing else really nothing else really matters. As nihilistic as that sounds. I mean, nothing matters if a guy's getting saves, and Hicks got the last 2. So, yeah, I would go Hicks.
Yeah, another Saginaw situation. Although I will say, for whatever it's worth, since May started, Hicks is throwing a 2.84 ERA. So I mean, he's been significantly better. That first month of the season, he was absolutely horrendous. But the Cardinals bullpen has kind of turned itself around, and then Helsley got injured as soon as that happened. But it seems like they're going for Hicks for now. I still don't know that I'm dropping Gallegos if you're in a speculating situation, because if Hicks reverts back to what he was doing at the beginning of the season, all of a sudden I don't think they hesitate to move Gallegos back in.
Right. Yeah, no, completely. I think if you need saves, you're holding Gallegos for now because, like, if Hicks blows the next game, Gallegos is the closer again.
Yeah, I think it's a very fluid situation. Adbert Alzolay seems to be in a committee, or maybe taking the job away from Al Leiter Jr. in Chicago. Is this are you interested in Alzolay at all, or is this another kind of, if we're chasing only type of scenario?
Yeah, I think if you're really desperate, I could see grabbing him. The one good thing is with Alzolay, he's been really good even outside of saves. He's got a 1.97 ERA as of the recording of this. He's got decent Ks. He's commanding his pitches. He looks good. I think it's desperate because I just don't see him getting, like, right now he has 4 saves. I'd be surprised if he got to 12 saves on the year. I don't see him getting a ton of saves. Like, I think, David Ross has been he uses them all over the place. He uses Leiter sometimes as the closer. I just don't think there's really going to be a closer there.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Alzolay is, the one you'll roster if you're going to roster one of them. Again, as you mentioned, his numbers are good. He's the only closer when he comes in, or the only reliever that comes in for the Cubs that I don't immediately grab a vomit bag for. So, he's the one you want to roster.
Has Leiter been bad? Because his numbers look pretty good.
He's definitely had his own. He's definitely had some struggles. I don't know. He just doesn't. And I said Al. I meant Mark. I don't know. I'm just mixing up my lighters here. It just hasn't
Zippo?
looked. Just hasn't looked good. He's given up like hits. He's walking people.
It's like the Marx Brothers. It's Al, Mark, and Zippo, all different lighters. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. No, it's just kind of watching them. I've just noticed Ladders. I mean, he's not very great. So I think there's a potential that they make a swap at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe. I think it's probably just going to be a committee for the rest of the year because the Cubs aren't really doing anything.
Yeah, and if they can potentially sell one of them, or
absolutely, yeah. If they could trade one, then they're gonna. I mean, I don't know if they will. If they were smart, they would. So we'll see. I don't know.
Well, then they're probably not.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Moving over to Arizona, Andrew Chafin has been not very good for a couple of weeks here. Scott McHugh has actually entered back into the conversation, and him and Miguel Castro both got saves this week for Arizona. Chafin did not. So are we adjusting how we're approaching the Arizona closer, or are you just ignoring and avoiding this situation as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to avoid it if I could. So if you have enough saves, it's not worth like wading into that mess. But if you need saves, I'd probably go McHugh right now. I'd probably say McHugh Chafin, Castro, but it could be McHugh, Castro, Chafin. I think, I think Chafin and Castro, though, are kind of like 2A and 2B, and McHugh is 1A, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Moving over to Tampa Bay, Pete Fairbanks came back from the IL. He got his 2 save quota and 2 opportunities since returning. Do you trust the Rays to let Fairbanks close, or would you potentially look at selling high on Fairbanks because the Rays will never let him close?
No, I think Fairbanks is going to be good, and he's good even if he's not getting saved. So I have no problem rostering him. I think he's probably, the Rays will win a bunch of games. Fairbanks will get his fair chance at saves. I think he's fine. I have no problem going with Fairbanks.
Okay. I have him in a lot of teams. I've just been, he's literally gotten 2 saves a month. Like that's how it's worked for him every month so far. So I'm just hoping they let him stay in that role. Maybe just saying it out loud on the podcast so that it's out there and maybe they'll hear me. Okay. Maybe somebody will hear me.
I'm
The,
sure they will. I didn't realize that. Oh no, he's got 7 saves on the year.
okay.
Wow is his K per 9 down? I hadn't really looked at Fairbanks. I think he is the closer though. But oh my God, he only has 11 strikeouts on the year. What? When did he become a pitch to contact guy? Wow. I really did not. I don't have Fairbanks, so I really had no idea how terrible his peripherals were outside of ERA. Obviously, he has a 1.35 ERA, so I mean he's doing fine. But wow, his Ks and walks are terrible.
Yeah. It's, the K's have not been there. As a
Wow,
Fairbanks owner in a
I wonder
couple
if
of
he's
leagues,
injured. Huh? I don't know.
it's possible. It seems like the Rays and pitcher injuries just kind of go hand in hand
Yeah.
recently. The Nationals committee, this might be worse than the Cubs committee. Finnegan, Harvey, Carl's Jr. This is one I think I'm avoiding, and I'm save desperate in a few leagues. I really don't want any of these guys.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I think outside of NL only, you're not really getting anything here that other than like a headache.
Yeah, and it is going to hurt.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
them or all of them is going to hurt, and it'll probably be in a non-safe situation just to rub it in a little bit more. In Minnesota, Griffin Jack's got a save this week. It's been a month since he's allowed an earned run. Do you think that maybe he's kind of jumping in with Duran, and I mean Stewart gets one every now and then as well. But do you think he's entering the conversation of Minnesota's weird bullpen closer committee thing?
Um, you know, Baldelli likes to mix and match, so it wouldn't shock me to see Jax get a few more saves here and there. But I think Duran is the closer, and Stewart is the setup guy. So Jax is third for saves there, but I could see him getting a handful, not like over the course of the season, that is. So, like, not necessarily having, 0 chance of getting another save, but I think he's behind 2 other guys.
Okay, sounds good. So it's really just a, if in those very, very deep leagues where every backup is owned, then maybe Griffin Jacks gets picked up. Otherwise, you're pretty much on, Duran or maybe Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think Jax is probably like there's AL only where he's probably rostered, and then
Mhm.
there's leagues like a 12 team, like an RCL, like a 12 team mixed league, but it's daily, and I could see churning Jax in and out of like a RCL team's lineup just because he's been good for so long, and he could potentially maybe grab a save here and there. So I could see Jax potentially being interesting in like a daily league and in a very deep league.
Yeah, agreed. All right, great. Let's talk about some more interesting people to look at in our pickups.
Okay. So Christian Encarnacion Strand, whatever happened with that?
He's the one person still left in the Reds minors, Gray.
And so
The
I'm
one who was
sure,
coming up first.
I'm sure he probably feels the same way. He's at the lunch table and like all his buddies are like graduated. He's like the kid who stayed behind in high school and all his friends went on to college. Christian Encarnacion Strand is Matthew McConaughey. Uh, yeah, I think also Leody Taveras has been really hot. He's been good. I actually dropped him in one league, and I immediately regretted it. It was dumb. Eddie Rosario, who we've mentioned earlier, has been like amazing and probably should be rostered in every league as of right now. And then there's like guys like Ryan O'Hearn, he's been hot. He's not gonna stay hot, but he's been hot, coming into today at least. Matt Verling has been really good. He's been hot. I think he had a little bit of a back issue, but if he's okay, he's been good. Andy Ibanez, same team, Tigers. The Tigers looked pretty good the last couple weeks, so they were hot. Mike Tuckman, for whatever reason, is hitting leadoff. I don't even know. Yeah,
Don't even start.
I have no clue what's going on there. Donovan Solano's been hot, and Mike Ford, a random little name there for you. He's been hot. Let's see, and Brandon Crawford is high up on the 7-day player rater, and I didn't realize he was hot, but it looks like he has been.
He has been. He's been hitting the ball, just tearing the cover off. On the pitcher side, if you have IL slots and you have them open, Tariq Skubal and Matt Manning are finishing up rehabs. It seems like Skubal's maybe a little bit ahead, so they're looking at least one more start for each of them, maybe 2 more or 3 more starts for Manning, but they're both on their way back. As far as starts for this week, Dean Kramer versus Seattle. I'm just going to keep saying Dean Kramer until his roster percentage goes up a little bit, because it doesn't. It just stays very low. Julio Teheran, of all people, versus Arizona. He's been good this year. You can start the JP Sears, Paul Blackburn Orioles at Cleveland. I think that's fairly safe. Cleveland's not exactly scary right now, and they've both been good recently. Tanner Bibby versus Milwaukee, Rich Hill versus the Cubs. Chris Bassett has had a couple of tough outings recently, but look for him to get back on track versus Oakland, although Oakland's been not completely awful, at least the last couple of weeks. And Dre Jameson has been good in the pen. So if you're kind of speculating in deeper leagues, I think you look at Dre Jameson. He's going to give you good numbers while he's in the pen. And I think he could be moving to a starter sooner rather than later, because, well, the rotation is awful there.
Fair.
All right. If you have any other questions, you want looking at any other pickups, trades, whatever it might be, come find us. I'm on Twitter at RazBeaton. Gray is the owner of the at Razball account. Rate, review us, comment wherever you get your podcast. Go on youtube.com/RazballFantasy and watch us. If nothing else, go watch the opening. I feel like Gray's the most animated during the opening, and there's always something you kind of need to see in person right off the bat for the show. So go check that out. Again, we'll answer comments out there as well. Until next week, Gray, talk to you later.
All right, Lates.